Hi, hello, folks. This is going to be part two of my series on losing weight with me. And then, if you didn't see the first one, it'll be linked at the end of this video. But just briefly to remind you where we were, I at the end discussed how um, just eating less, you know, to lose weight, you're going to hit a plateau, which I did about 20, 30 pounds, where you're not going to be able to lose any more weight. All right. So what I found is I had to do some research and realized I had to change my focus to losing fat rather than weight. Now we're still going to use the scale, and that will be explained as we go along. But in order to lose fat, which is different than just losing weight is lower caloric intake, proper nutrition, and exercise. Losing fat is a little bit different. It's caloric deficit, storing less fat, and burning more fat, which might sound like it's the same, but it's not. Now, what you're going to need if you're going to follow along and diet with me, okay, is you're going to have something called acetyl L-carnitine, okay? And you can find it on my web store. The link should be somewhere around here, just below my finger. Amazon web store. And I'll show you what it looks like. This one here, I had to rebuild it because Amazon killed it before for some reason. Something about the advertising on WordPress. But here's the store. You want to go on under health. There's going to be one called basics, and that's the what. And then we're going to be more categories as I fill this back in. But the basics is what you're going to need to start out with. Okay. Now, if you can't, don't freak out. If you can't afford to buy all of this stuff, the one big one you have to get is this acetyl L-carnitine. Okay. And the one that you want to get is this 250 gram, which is only 17.96, and that is enough to last me about a year and a half. So, and I take more of it than I'm going to tell y'all to start out with, and you will probably increase how much you're taking over time as well on your own, because it just works that good. Okay, this is the absolute basic necessity for doing this. This is going to increase your ability to burn fat, and not just burn fat. It's not like, what is it, FinFan or whatever it was that was out a while ago, which is supposed to burn fat. This is actually helps your body metabolize fat more. It'll lower your cholesterol, because one of the reasons that cholesterol is floating around in people's blood is because if you consume carbohydrates and fat at the same time, your body is going to choose to use carbohydrates over the fat, because carbohydrates are much easier for your body to turn into fuel very rapidly. Number one. And number two, carbohydrates are literally a poison to your body. So your body will want to burn it as quickly as possible to get it out of your system. So what happens is the fat that you've taken in ends up floating around in your blood system as excess carbohydrates. Excess fat cells and what's the word I'm looking for? It just went out of my head. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Cholesterol. Okay, floating around in your blood because your body's not metabolizing what's in your blood. Well, this acetyl L-carnitine will increase your body's ability to metabolize it faster, which means that you'll have less of it floating around in your blood, especially when you decrease your carbs. Okay, there's a lot more to it, which I'll explain in later videos as we move forward with this diet. But that's the absolute minimum. Now, the other thing that you're going to want, you'll notice that I have something strange in here: pistachios. Pistachio nuts are going to be your friend. You see here, and you see this note I have here under pistachios. I'm going to annotate everything I put in here so that you can come in here and you'll see what it is, why it's in here, why I've put it in here. And I put in here high in potassium, which your body needs to process any sugars you consume rather than converting them to fat. And if your body doesn't have enough potassium, what it does when you ingest sugars is, first, sugar, like I said, is a poison. Your body tries to handle it as quickly as possible. So it'll try to use it for fuel. But if you're just sitting around on the couch watching Netflix, There's not much need for fuel. So what your body will do with that sugar is turn it into fat because it's the easiest thing to do. When you have potassium, when you're deficient in potassium, that becomes the quickest, the go-to route for all of the sugars that come into your body. When your body has enough potassium in it, the potassium helps your body um, do things like you put it into sugar stores or glucose stores in your liver and glycogen stores in your muscles. Without that potassium, or if you're deficient in potassium, it's much harder for your body to do that. So a lot more of that sugar will end up going into the fat cells, even if you need it in your glycogen stores and your liver. Probably not so much the liver, but at least the glycogen stores in your muscles. So you have to get your potassium level up. That's going to help you burn off the sugars that you're eating now. But as we go through this diet, you're going to decrease the amount of carbohydrates you're taking in, and this will become less important, even though it's still important to keep the right amount of potassium. It's going to be, this is going to be your snack, but you'll find out as we go along. It'll make sense. Now, the other thing that you're going to need is this acetyl-L-carnitine, which is kind of like, it does the same thing as potassium, only for fat. So it helps your body metabolize the fat that you take in, which is you're going to increase your fat intake, which, if you're one of these people who believes in what the bill of goods they tried to sell us since the 1950s, that low fat is the thing. Well, they've actually discovered here in the last, I think, 5 years, maybe a little more, that they were completely wrong about that. And that's the exact opposite, that they had it completely wrong. We need to have higher fat intake and less carbohydrates intake, which they're having a hard time admitting right now, but they are at least starting to, you'll see on the news and stuff, how carbohydrates are responsible for heart disease and all of that stuff, which they used to blame on fat. So things are going to change, and I will explain as we go along why they're going to change. And as they change, you'll say, oh, he was right. Anyway, what is this video at? We're at 7 minutes now. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video now. And in the next video, we'll talk about how to get over the second plateau, because there is going to be another plateau, but it's just going to be a slight plateau. Well, it depends. It will probably be just a small plateau depending on how far out of whack your body is right now, which for me, that was considerable because of my age and everything else. But I'm going to go into all of that about, how hormone imbalances and how to get that fixed and regulate and back into shape and all of that stuff, because all of that is very important to continue burning the fat as rapidly as you possibly can. Everybody's going to be a little different. I burn about 10 pounds a month. That seems to be my number, 10 pounds a month. I could probably increase it a little bit, but I really don't want to. 10 pounds a month is a good, healthy rate to lose fat. But I'm going to go over my notes. I have the page down here. Yeah, how to get your hormones back in balance as far as for the fat burning. There's, if you look at videos on YouTube about fixing hormones, there's like, if you tried to eat and drink and do everything that every video talks about, you would just, that's all you'd be consuming is supplements and specific all day long. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make this as simple and as manageable as possible, something I could do every day easily. And that's what I'm going to cover in the next video. So, where does my mouse keep going? Sorry, I'm so out of whack here. My mouse keeps disappearing on me. So, anyway, until the next video, thank you all and see you then.